Is Wednesday, October 2nd. Public hearing will be held, Town Hall, 26 Evergreen Street, room 200 on Wednesday, September 30th, at 7. Applicant Susan Larson, 3 Grandview Ave, must seek a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals per Section 4.2A, non-conforming structure lot subsection 4A, in order to remove the roof of a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot and build a second floor for living space. Renovation plans to exist residence prepared by Doug Friesen of Duxborough Design on 211, plan of land prepared by Stephen Moran of Moran Surveying. So we've continued it numerous occasions, and I know now that we will continue with this in 1 second just to finish it, but I want to close off before we do. I just have a couple of questions to ask, but let me just skip this over for 1 second, and we'll go to reading of a public hearing will be held in Town Hall, Evergreen Street, room 200, Wednesday, October 2nd. Applicant Ollie DeSimino, 4 Parks Street, map 37, lot 8, seeks a variance per section 10.4B powers, subsection 3 from the Zoning Board of Appeals in order to modify the lot lines of 2 continuous parcels and waive the requirement of 8.2B, which requires specific lot requirements restrictions due to the wetlands in order to make 2 individual non-conforming residential single-family parcels. What we're proposing to do is, because there's not enough people on the zoning board tonight to actually make a ruling, we're asking if the applicant would like to continue the next meeting, which should be October 16th.
October 16th?
Yeah, is that correct? Yes. So October 16th will be the next hearing. So we're going to continue your hearing on October 16th, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Hi, Marcia. No, that's all right. And I wasn't sure if you were coming, so we just started it. All right, so back to Ms. Larson. So we have a letter from Ms. Larson here. After much consideration and stress, I've decided to withdraw my request for the second story of my house in 3 Grandview because I'm not able to resolve the parking issues to your satisfaction. After a site visit discussion with Paul Bassler, I've come to understand the reason a 30-foot road is drawn and floating 6 feet above my front yard is most likely due to serious of compounding survey errors during the 1948 subdivision layout starting on Route 3A and ending at my house. I am not prepared to build that road 6 feet above my yard and put parking on it. According to Highway Department, the existing 12-foot paved road with a 2-foot shoulder on either side is sufficient plowing. My road meets that requirement, including additional 8-foot width for my car and my boyfriend's truck to park comfortably. The fire department has stated that they can easily pass and can all the other large trucks that traverse that road on a daily basis. At this time, however, I would appreciate getting a permit to move the deck back from the road as shown in our plan and approved by the Conservation Commission. Have you gone to the building department with that new plan?
It's not a new plan, it's been on
You need to speak in the microphone, I'm sorry. No, I understand it's not a new plan, but have you gone back to the building department, explained the situation, and applied for a permit strictly for the deck?
Yes, I
Okay.
went and spoke, had a meeting with Mr. Silva. He said I am
You have to turn
Fired.
that on, okay?
to, because even though I'm moving the deck away from touching that phantom road and moving it back, it still doesn't meet the complete, was it 15 feet?
Yeah. There's a certain setback, yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
probably
is-
gonna, be a little close. So he said I still have to go to zoning before he can give me the permit to
Okay.
go ahead with the deck.
Right now, I don't have the plans right in front of me. I just got this the other day. and
I have them
That's
right
okay.
here.
There's nothing we can do much about it tonight anyway. Ms. Larson, because there's only two of us, so it's not enough to vote for it one way or the other. I apologize. I know you've gone through torture at this point to get to it. And as long as the building department has looked at it and, you know, the conservation has signed off on it, I can't, you know, speak for the other board members, but, you know, let us take a peek at it. Let's take a look at it. And is there an opening on the 16th for her to come back again? I apologize for this, I really do, and if it was up to me, but it's not. So we'd like to have you continue on the 16th. Please.
I'll have to look at my calendar, but there's no way you guys can discuss it and
There's only
just-
two of us. It wouldn't count.
Okay. I'll come
There's
back
nothing we can do about it.
again, but
I mean, whether her and I both could agree to it, and we both couldn't accept it, because we need a majority on the board to accept it. So I don't want to tell you one thing, get your hopes up, as you did before, but right now, the whole town private road situation has gone crazy because of the plowing situation and everything else. So there's all sorts of
my
side
road
stories on that.
is completely
Me
fine.
too, my road too, all of us. So we're all in the same boat, and we're all being forced to do things we don't necessarily want to do, but, you know, it is what it is. So if you like to continue,
Well, I have to.
I'm proposing
mean,
you
this
continue
is-
this on the 16th.
I can't now hire the engineer to design it. It's been 2 years.
Okay.
So I will come back on the 16th, but
What I would suggest, if you can, to keep it simple for the board, if you can give us a plan with the
Well-
deck.
the plan is on my architectural drawing.
If you
I
can,
do need to hire an engineer to design it, but I spoke with Mr. Silva. I'm not going to pay an engineer thousands of dollars to design the deck if you guys say, no, you can't have it. So I would like zoning to agree that yes, conservation agrees, you'll be within a foot or two of a boundary line, then I'll pay the engineer to design it, and Mr. Silva can decide
okay.
to give me the permit.
What we do as a board, though, we approve a drawing or request in front of us in full. We can't say, yeah, conservation's the one that said if you can have it where it is. If the building department doesn't have a problem with it, and if he has asked for structural calculations on it, we can't say, oh, the deck's gonna be okay where it is, but you haven't designed it yet, so we can't approve something that we can't approve 100% of.
The only design is how to cantilever it. It's not changing from the architectural drawing where it is. Conservation agreed to it, but said without putting a pier in the ground, so we'll have to cantilever it. So,
Understood, if Paul agrees with it, if Paul agrees and says, yeah, the deck's okay, the deck is structurally sound, the deck can be built per his recommendations, and he comes to us, and you come to us and say, the building is signed off, conservation signed off, this is the only thing that we have to do, we're asking for a special permit to move the location, then we can grant it yes or no. But we have to, as a board, we're not the building inspectors, the building inspector has to agree to all that.
okay, Mr. Silva is the building inspector,
Correct.
correct? Okay. He told me to come to you, and then when you approve it, then I go to him with the architectural or the engineer's drawing.
But we
So-
can't approve something that we can't approve, you know what I mean? That,
We're,
go ahead,
Is my mic on?
go ahead,
I
press
can
the
hear
button.
you, but
Okay. my question to you is, was your desire to move the deck back from the road part of your original plan to add a
Yes.
second story?
Yes,
Okay.
and I have that
Ding,
plan
ding, ding,
with
ding.
me.
So, you, and Jason has instructed you, and when you went in there and applied, Jason instructed you to come, you needed a permit from us
Yes.
pursuant to 4.2 of the zoning regulations. That's what your original permit application, that's what Jason's letter to us sort of says. It's a 4.2 application to put he mainly focused on the second story.
Right, which I've
I know, no, but I
withdrawn.
want to address
Yeah.
that to you. I don't think
Okay.
you should abandon that. I can't
I've
tell you not to
abandoned it.
withdraw it, but you've already spent all the money to get all that engineered and to have the Conservation Commission approve all of that. You've come right, you're knocking on the door. So don't withdraw that. I mean,
Well, my understanding, and it's been through 2 years of this in front of this board, that unless I find a parking area off this crazy road, that you're not going to give me.
I don't know where please direct, could you tell us where that belief comes from?
The last.
And that I know
meeting
there were
came to.
statements made by certain members of the board, regarding parking. There's just this obsession with parking on a small, narrow roadway.
Right.
But I don't understand, when I got your letter and said, because I am not able to resolve the parking issue to your satisfaction.
Right.
I don't have a parking issue. I
Well,
don't think there is.
I know you don't.
And I don't think there is a
appreciate that.
parking issue. And I think that's a thing that needs to be explored. Because my reading of the zoning regulation and what Jason said at a prior meeting is that the current regulations do not apply under 4.2. And all we have to find under 4.2 is that your request is not detrimental to the neighborhood, okay?
Okay.
That's all we have to find. We don't have to find there's adequate parking. I think this parking is a distraction, number one. Number two, it's a private roadway,
Right.
okay? The town will never accept it, you know that, because of the condition that it's in. We'll just.
Well, it's actually in good condition. Mr. Basler just came,
see
we
that in
had
the
it
letter.
paved, whatever sort of potholes, whatever you call it, paved, and he came and he signed off and said,
I know, I
everything's
spoke to-
fine, it looks good, so.
And
there's a-
he's already determined it's adequate snow removal
Yes.
location, and the town will plow it and sand it, okay?
Yes.
I don't think the town considers it, I don't know, I mean, this notion of a 30-foot right-of-way, that seems to be a misnomer.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I don't know where that came from.
1948's,
But as Mr. Bassler
plan.
said, it was never laid out. It's kind
He
of a country,
said-
it's kind of a current. We're dealing with the same situation in Country Club Way. It just, for some reason, the developer's feet were never held to the fire. It was never done.
Right.
We don't even know, do you own to the center line of this imaginary 30-foot? You
Yes.
do?
yes.
Is that what they told you?
My neighbors have told me.
So you have the
because-
right to park, it's a private way.
Yes.
Paul Bassler and this town of Kingston are willing to
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure where the ownership of the property is. I don't think.
Paul, it has been determined to be a private road by the
Yeah,
town
but
of
I don't think,
Kingston.
I don't think you own half the road.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, I
the
don't-
town doesn't own it.
Right.
And if the abutting landowners don't own to the center line, nobody, I mean, again, the town can't tell people what to do on private property. And so, Paul, the town has basically made a determination that your roadway being 12 feet wide with certain.
2 feet
2 feet
on-
shoulders.
Yeah.
So at 14 feet, 2-foot shoulders, is sufficient for the town to plow it, sand it, and you know, the fire department will go there, the school buses go there, the ambulances go there, everybody goes there. And according to Paul Bassler, there's still 8 foot of property outside that 12 foot, 16 feet on your side, right?
Right,
For you to park 2 cars.
right.
I think you have met the parking. I don't know, but somebody's not listening to
that
you,
is
or
what
somebody
we've been
is
saying all along.
misinterpreting the zoning, in my humble opinion. I think that the zoning regulations are being twisted. If you're a non-conforming structure, through no fault of your own, you're not increasing the footprint of your property. You're actually making it more conforming, correct? Well,
don't
you're
know if
saying
you
you're
call it
moving it
more
back from this
conforming, but-
imaginary roadway. The Conservation Commission is delighted with what you're doing.
Right.
So there's no detriment to anybody. But, so again, I
Okay.
don't withdraw it. I can't tell you not to do it, but again, you've already paid the
You
engineering.
know, worst case scenario,
You can withdraw.
if you came back with everything and they denied the parking for the roof, but they approved the decking, then you still got what you kind of want, so. She's right
Okay.
to a certain point. I'm not telling you what to do, and I don't want to get your hopes up. Hope she doesn't get your hopes up on what she's saying too, but, you know, again, we can't make the ruling. We can advise you what to do.
Okay.
It's really a matter of just, when people come to the zoning board, it's because the building inspector can't issue you a permit, because some aspect of your project is not in strict compliance with the zoning. So you have to come here.
Right.
And when you come here, as a board, we exercise our discretion. That's what we do. We don't strictly apply the zoning regulations. That is Jason, our current building inspector's job.
We have a question, they're saying what happens when, and if the road gets accepted by the town?
Yeah, we just have to confirm that with Paul, and
I don't,
Gene, if you can, I don't know if we can talk to Paul. I know Paul's retiring November 1st, so, and I'd like to have Jason say, you know, if we can confirm from Jason that the deck is adequate for building. It's not, like I say, it's not up to us to tell him we need a structural engineer to design the deck. That's not our job, that's not our expertise. So if the deck meets building standards and the conservation has no problem with the location, we just approve those 2 functions of it. So I just make sure that Paul has no problem with the construction of the deck. And, you know, just for what it's worth, you know, I know your house, and if you just had a little, you know, that the fence that's in front of your house is kind of hurting.
Well, it's,
I'm just.
the fence
just-
is going.
I'm an observation, I'm not asking, the fence is just kind of leaning forward.
Well,
If
it's-
that got fixed up a little bit and you put a little material there, it would dress up the front of it a little bit more. It would look like a little bit more room is to park. Just-
one of the reasons I haven't addressed the fence yet is because we were trying to address parking. So there's no sense replacing the fence.
Again, I understood. I'm not-
And if I went up the second story and there are trucks and whatever, so that was going to be the last. Now that I have given up, and maybe I haven't, but East Coast Fence is coming tomorrow
Take a
to,
picture of it when you come back, take a picture of it. I am just giving you a little helpful advice. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. And if you just listen to some of the advice, you might be better off in the long run. Just,
I've been listening.
Okay.
And the last time I left this meeting, my advice was find the parking.
I know that was,
Get an engineer and find the parking, because you were not, you said if you vote on it and it doesn't pass, I can't come back for 3 years
Two.
to do my second story.
again,
So I've been
we're
trying to
Susan,
deal
we're
with
trying to
that.
help you because if the rest of the board said no, you'd have no choice in it. We just tried to point you in the right direction to think about it. That's all. We didn't tell you what to do. We're just trying to give you a little bit of advice to help you. Please,
I got the
take it that
impression
way.
that the vote would have been no. So I went home, I've been talking to an engineer, we've been mapping out what we could possibly do for parking, and I decided I do not want to go 8 feet off of that phantom 30-foot
Understood.
drawing, so that's why
Okay,
I
we're
decided to
just trying to help you. We're
forget
just
it.
trying to give you some advice, that's it.
Okay,
Again,
I appreciate it,
Okay.
but I don't know if the rest of
So we're
the board
proposing that
agrees
you
with you.
to do what you have to do, formulate the plan that you want to formulate, and we should have a full board here on the 16th. And if you just get your ducks in a row for the deck, and if Jason gives you the approval, the deck is okay. Again, it's not up to us to structurally show it. That'd be more his, I don't know if there's a miscommunication there, but
No,
if you draw a plan of how the deck is framed, lumberyards do that now for you.
Again, I think.
Pre-engineered draw, there are ways to do that. Again, it's, your architect, you should help you on,
Well,
what
the
the code
architect
is.
mentioned that we probably need a structural engineer only because we can't put supports
right.
in the marsh. But a structural engineer is going to cost me thousands of dollars, so I didn't want to
Understood.
for that yet.
Whatever his advice was, that's what I would do. If he just said, come to the board, we can't accept, oh, we're gonna, if you let me put it there, then I'll come up with a drawing to support it. That's not our call.
and I'm not trying to argue, but it is complicated for me.
You are right,
But-
but it's,
If I do go, I mean, I did speak to him. He said, yeah, I give you the building permit after zoning says it's okay that you're gonna be a little too close to the
Right.
15-foot setback.
but you mentioned the word structural. We do not approve structural.
Right.
If he looks at the deck and says, you're constructing it per building code, get the location straightened out with conservation, which it sounds like you have.
Right.
And if the location's okay with them, and the deck is in compliance with building code regulations, we will act on the movement of it.
Okay.
That's what we do,
Okay,
okay?
Currently, I just need to answer the question that somebody posed, I don't know if it was online. There really is not in place in the town of Kingston a process by which the town can accept a private road. There isn't. It was up for town meeting, and it was, there was a warrant for it, and it failed.
Let's not open that can of worms.
I'm just saying that, so to answer that person's question,
Oh, I can't read, you can read that?
it's not likely. No, she asked me.
Oh, I couldn't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry, she asked me that question. So I think that until, there is a publicly approved procedure to accept private roads, it's very unlikely.
And there is a
that-
meeting next Wednesday, I believe, the 6th, to discuss private roads. I believe it's here, so.
Oh, there was one last on the 24th.
I
That's
know,
where
and
Mr.
there's a
Bassler-
continuation on the
Is there a
6th.
well,
continuation of that? So,
Mr. Basler wrote you guys a letter at somewhere in the middle of all this, and said, if you let that woman have a second story, then we will no longer plow her road. So and I'm like, well, I can't do that to my neighbors. And so he said, without getting parking off the street. But then we got this new letter about how the minimum requirements for plowing and sanding, and he
We can't comment
came.
on what his thought process was on that, whether they were worried about a third bedroom. Again, Susan, I don't know.
Well, I asked him that when he was there, And he said, well, that letter's moot because I'm retiring. I said, well, it isn't moot because zoning board already has that letter, whether you don't care anymore. They have it in the file. So that's when we tried to map out something that just is not going to work on my property to get it off what has written or drawn this original 30-foot road from 1948.
And
So that's why I just said, forget it. If I can get the deck, at least I'll have a little more living space outside.
the deck is currently part of the structure?
There's an old deck close to the street. It's really touching
This is the one that you want to move?
line of the old Phantom Road. And I want to move it back over my basement door, which has concrete underneath it. It's got good support to hold the deck up. So I want to get rid of that crumbling old deck.
There's conservation rules that you can't have a column in a
Right.
particular
Yeah.
wetland area within, whatever, 40 feet or something from the high tide mark. I forget what the marks are, though.
Yeah.
The location of the deck is part of its current existing nonconformity, right? Why?
It will not, we'll take that deck away. The current deck is old and it's not really
I'm just trying
good.
to-
I'm going
to
to remove
understand.
that deck and build a new deck behind it.
So
less
you're reducing the, but it
non-conforming.
is currently non-conforming, and you are proposing to make it less
Less.
non-conforming
Yes.
by moving it to a new location, correct? But it's all
Yes.
part of the current, the reason that you need a permit pursuant to section 4.4, because you are in a non-conforming structure, correct? You're asking to do something to a non-conforming structure.
I guess, yeah.
That's what Jason
But
has
it's also
determined.
going to be still a little too close to that
Well, the reason-
15-foot
It
setback.
can never conform.
Yeah,
It will never conform.
right.
It's impossible for it to conform.
Yeah, again, I don't have the drawings in front of me, but I would suggest that the drawings show the existing deck,
Yeah.
the size of the existing deck.
Yes, they do, on the first page.
And the location of the
Yeah.
new deck, the size of the new deck, and the distance from the deck to the property line, if you can. That should be easy enough for them to do.
Okay,
I don't care about the conservation, if they've approved it, I don't care how far it goes out into the marsh. But I would also try to show some sort of a width in front of your house, 12 feet to if the road is 18 feet wide or it's 12 feet wide, if you have a 8-foot parking space, try to put some dimensions so we can look at it and say, oh, okay, the road's X amount of feet wide, you have X amount of feet to park, here's your deck, here's how far it is off the property line. Those are the questions that are gonna be asked.
okay.
So if we can see that, goes a long way. So
Okay.
I propose, if you're accepting it, to come back on the 16th, and we will explore this,
Okay. Okay.
okay? You in favor?
I'm definitely in favor of that.
Okay.
Don't give up. I mean, you've come this far. I mean, you can always ask the board to just, will you approve the second story, yea or nay? You know, with
Okay.
the parking as is, or will you improve the whole package? You can break it up when it gets to that point. If you're
Okay.
still afraid that the parking that Paul Bassler and you talked about, and he saw on site when he was there, right?
Yes.
It seems more than adequate.
Ask him to write you a letter too. As much information as you have showing good things goes a long way.
He's got a
If-
great
If
assistant.
Paul can
she'll
write a
let him
little
know.
letter saying, and I have reviewed her,
Well, he didn't.
ask. Worst he can do is tell you no.
Right.
So, again, we're gonna end this right now, the 16th, because the more we talk, the more a hole gets dug.
Okay.
We're proposing that this will be on the 16th, we've agreed to it, and we're gonna close this.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So I'll propose that we close the meeting
Just
for
the-
today.
adjourn. A motion to, we can't even,
A motion, a motion to adjourn the meeting of Wednesday, October 2nd, and we will be back here on live TV on the 16th.